In this video, I'll be covering problems from the ACT Practice Test 1 in the English section, and I'll be covering problems 16 through 30. So problem 16. So they're asking you to correct this underlined part here. Seeing remnants of outdoor advertisements from a bygone era. No change, the site of remnants to see remnants or remnants. So the answer for this one would be J, because in this sentence you have a dependent clause that introduces this part talking about ghost signs. So number 17, seeing remnants of outdoor advertisements from a bygone era. So A, no change, B, era that is no more, C, era of another time, D, era of times past. So the answer for number 17 would be A, because B, C, and D are just redundant because an era by default is something that is no more of another time and of times past. So in these questions, you want to avoid unnecessary wordiness, so that's kind of what 17 is asking. Number 18, whatever words remain, and then it gives you a list. F, no change, G, remain with a dash, H, remain with a comma, and J, remain with a colon. So for number 18, the answer would be G, because you see that, here, I'll underline this, you see that you have this dash here. You know that you also have to have one here, just because dashes are not alone. They have to be open and closed. So moving on to number 19, which is up here. So here I'll just start on the other page. Whatever words remain, fruiter, apothecary, gramophones, panhandle coffee are often barely legible. Pale fragments of yesterday's consumer culture should strike me as silly or sad. And then the answers are A, no change, B, that should, C, they should, and D, should they. So the answer for this one is B. And this is because should is talking about the words that remain, so the proper pronoun for those would be that should, the words that should remain. And then number 20, after all, there they are, advertising products and businesses that no longer exist. F, no change, G, products and businesses with a comma, H, products, comma, and businesses, J, products, colon, businesses. So the answer for number 20 would be F, no change, because you don't need a comma or a colon when you're just listing two things as products and businesses here. Number 21, yet they themselves survive without apology, with instead their simple claims and complex colors. A, no change, B, apology, comma, with, comma, instead, comma, C, apology with instead, comma, D, apology with instead with no commas. So this one's kind of tricky, and the answer for this one would be B. This is because, so you know that there has to be a comma without apology, and then, so how I would think about this one is I would just read it out loud to myself, and wherever I pause, I would put a comma. So, yet they themselves survive without apology, with, instead. So because you pause there, you know that there will be commas after each of these words. Number 22, I'll just read the sentence, or actually I'll start at the beginning of the paragraph. I collect ghost signs, not the signs themselves, but photos of them. Driving home from school one chilly October evening, my collection got its start. So the answer for this one would be H. This is technically, it's grammatically correct, but the way it's worded sounds like your collection is starting by driving itself home from school, which doesn't really make sense. So in these answers, what you would look for is the sentence that makes the most sense. So that would be H. I started my collection one chilly October evening, driving home from school. Because he started his collection on this evening when he was driving home from school. And the other two answers just, they're kind of unnecessarily wordy and they just don't really make that much sense. So number 23. Then there it was, an ad for Joe's Cafe, perched atop a metal pole, which was upright under a cape of kudzu vines. So this is a slightly different type of question. It asks, given that all the choices are accurate, which one echoes a central point the writer makes about ghost signs? A, no change. B, was not what interested me. C, might have been wood. D, was disappearing. So the correct answer for this one would be D, because earlier in the piece, he's talking about how these ghost signs disappear and they're pale fragments of yesterday's consumer culture. Yet he also talks about how the ghost signs survive without apology. So the metal pole is disappearing, but the ghost sign is surviving. So this just echoes the central point that the writer makes about ghost signs, which is in the question. Number 24. So I'll read the sentence. Maybe it was the way the setting sun's illumination of the yellowing plastic. So just from reading this, you can tell that it's not actually a complete sentence. So the answer for this one would be J. Here, I'll read the options. F, no change. G, illuminating setting sun on. H, sun illuminated the set on. J, setting sun illuminated. So the way you would check these would just be to put each one in the sentence and then read it aloud to yourself and see which answer makes the most sense. And it would be J because that's the only answer that makes sense and makes this a complete sentence. Number 25. Maybe it was the small hole, a clue to vandalism or of a hailstorm. A, no change. B, evidence of. C, evidently. D, delete the underlined portion. The answer for this one would be B, because it's talking about this small hole, which drew the author to this sign, and then it's talking about what could have caused this small hole, and so the right word for that would be evidence of. Number 26. Instead, something about the sign touched me. F, no change. G, on the other hand, something. H, meanwhile, something. J, something. The best answer for this would be J, because you know that something about the sign touched him, so it doesn't really make sense to put instead, on the other hand, or meanwhile. And just another clue for this one is that you always want to avoid using unnecessary words. So the best answer for that would be J. Okay, number 27. Sorry, the spacing is kind of weird. Here, I'll just read the sentence. As fun as it is to have company, my best hunts have been solitude trips. A, no change. B, solitary. C, solitaire. D, solo. So the best answer for this one would be D, because solo means alone, and he's doing these trips by himself, so that would just be the best choice because it shows what he's trying to say there. Number 28. I appreciate the beauty of ghost signs more when I, like the signs, am alone. The best answer for, F, no change. G, I, like the signs. H, I, comma, like the signs, comma. J, I like, comma, the signs, comma. So the best answer for this one would be H, because like the signs, So when you read the sentence out loud, you could take like the signs out of the sentence. You could just say, I appreciate the beauty of ghost signs more when I am alone. So like the signs here is called an appositive, which means you have to have a comma before and after the appositive. And appositive is just a fancy word for something that you can take out of the sentence. It just describes the subject, but you don't really need it there. So number 29. So these two questions, 29 and 30, ask about the passage as a whole. So number 29, for the sake of logic and cohesion, paragraph 2 should be placed A, where it is now, B, before paragraph 1, C, after paragraph 3, and D, after paragraph 4. So looking back at paragraph 2, it's the paragraph that says, I collect ghost signs, not the signs themselves, but photos of them. And it comes after paragraph 1 that talks about him seeing remnants of outdoor advertisements from a bygone era, or ghost signs. So for this one, I would say A is the best answer, because if you read over paragraphs 1 and 2, it just makes sense where it is, so you don't really need to change anything. And then 30, suppose the writer's primary purpose had been to describe starting and enjoying a new hobby. Would this essay accomplish that purpose? F, yes, because it prevents the event that led to the narrator becoming interested in finding ghost signs and taking photographs of them. G, yes, because it describes the narrator's experience of learning from a friend where to find ghost signs and how much fun the search itself can be. H, no, because it uses negative terms such as lonely and forlorn to describe the narrator's experience of collecting ghost signs. No, because it instead describes two hobbies, photography and collecting ghost signs, and does not indicate which one gave the narrator more pleasure. So for this one, the answer is F, because it does talk about his first ghost sign that he found and how this inspired him to start a new hobby, so it does accomplish this purpose. So some general tips from this video would be to read the sentence that you're trying to fix just out loud in your head, because a lot of times you can intuitively tell where commas should be. And then another tip would be, if they give you choices of what to put into the sentence to fix it, also read those out loud in your head, because again, a lot of people can just tell what's wrong with the sentence just when they read it out loud. And then another thing that you should try to do is remember to actually read the essay while you're going through it, because they do ask you these questions about the passage as a whole.